destroy schools, churches, and other infrastructure in Ugunowere community of Igbozi South local government area on the 23rd of February 2018, and the urgent need for federal government intervention agencies, specifically NEMA and IDP agency, to intervene. The House notes that the current incidents of both natural and man-made disasters bedevil the world, including Nigeria, with attendant sufferings for victims in many instances, resulting in avoidable loss of lives and properties. The House is disturbed by reports of the devastation wrought by thunderstorms and windstorms on the rural and agrarian community of Ugunowere in Igbozi South local government of Enugu State on the Friday 23rd of February 2018. The House is further disturbed by reports of extensive havoc wreaked on parts of the rural community that destroyed 5 of the buildings that make up Community Secondary School Ugunowere, where 2 students were crushed to death and many others sustained serious injuries and are in different hospitals. Destroyed 4 buildings of the Mario Institute of Hospitality, a Catholic vocational institution whose main hall was completely destroyed, and the hapless bricklayer working hard to earn a living was crushed to death, while many others sustained various degrees of injuries. And further destroyed All Saints Anglican Church, Ugunowere, and the Community Primary School 1, Ugunowere. Destroyed most of the electricity and water installations in that rural area. The stress that the dead, the injured, the displaced students and institutions have not received the level of support required in this stage of helplessness expected from the relevant intervention agencies of the federal government, despite repeated appeals. Further, the stress that most of the victims involved in these schools and churches have been rendered homeless and hopelessly exposed to increased risk of further catastrophe from avoidable hazards, as all basic needs of man are now deprived of them. Concerned that while the Igbozi South local government and the Enugu State governor, including members of the National Assembly representing the area, were on ground within 24 hours of this disaster to offer the site or show any significant interest, despite repeated appeals. Convinced that the level of destruction and displacement of people and destruction of properties, serious body injuries, which many lying critically ill in different hospitals, can only be adequately addressed by combined efforts of all levels of government and public individuals. And further convinced that the state of preparedness of NEMA and the agency on IDPs and other related agencies that intervene need to be strengthened, especially as the House is a way of increasing demands on these agencies nationwide, and the strengthening closely monitored for optimum performance. Resolved to urge the House to observe a minute silence for the deceased who died from these unfortunate natural disasters, commend the prompt response of both the local and state governments, direct the National Emergency Management Agency and the Agency on Internally Displaced Persons to mobilize resources and manpower to intervene immediately to ameliorate the sufferings of victims of Ugunowere thunderstorm, and mandate the House committees on emergency preparedness and IDP and the Committee on Legislative Compliance to monitor and ensure that victims of Ugunowere thunderstorm are adequately assisted. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Any seconder. Frederick Abedi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. Agbedi Yetemune Frederick is my name. I represent Sagbama Kremo Federal Constituency. Izonkeme, I'm from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Dr. Pat Asad, as a second.
Honorable Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues, one of the abiding and haunting images that I'll live and die with is that of the blind woman whose only child, for whom she had had to sell all the pieces of land she inherited from her husband to sponsor to the secondary school. And this boy was crushed to death. And that blind and sick woman was brought to face with us on the evening of the 24th of February. Here was a woman whose only hope in life was lost. But not just that the child was dead, but this woman has no future, no food in the house, nothing to live on. And when these things happen, if the images, if the pictures of the destruction and the level of collapse of buildings that the rainstorm and thunderstorm wrought in Ugunowere, and as we are living towards the night and living hundreds and thousands of Nigerian students with no water, with no light, with those bereaved parents crying to government that apart from the intervention coming from the base, shows how we come to a state where we do not show empathy, we do not show sympathy, we do not really mourn with those who are mourning. And I feel more pain, Mr. Speaker, by the fact that there's an agency of government that is domiciled in Enugu for the whole Southeast with monies made available to them and that have been very effective in intervening in this kind of situations. I'm talking especially about the National Emergency Management Agency. But just because there is a change in management or whatever has happened over the past 1 year, Mr. Speaker, I'm reporting to this House that to get the zonal manager to pick your call, you have to visit the place. And after visiting him, about 10 days later, there is not sent to that community, not a messenger from NEMA. And when the students were asking for canopies to erect tents so that they can stay and continue the educational pursuits, we as people, including the governor, had to urge them to go and find more habitable accommodation while we work with the local government, hoping that the federal government will intervene, both for the internally displaced students, both for the churches. And this church, especially the Marriott Institute, was a brainchild of a reverend father who has lived and almost is going to die in that community, trying to capture those who did not get enough formal education to learn different trades. And it has a student population of more than 1,000. That school has been leveled and our agencies are not showing any sign of interest. So my plea this morning, Mr. Speaker, is that this House do and in fact show what the House of the People had always been doing. Show that the government is there for the people and that the welfare and the safety of the people is our primary purpose. So we need to find a way of using our ways and means to make sure that NEMA does its work and that those internally displaced students, especially the students, have some feeling that they are Nigerians and that they're Nigerians enough for Nigeria to care for them when they are in need. It's only in that way that we can expect them to grow up as loyal and patriotic citizens. But when they suffer and we turn our backs on them, as is happening, Mr. Speaker, I wonder what we're going to teach them and how we're going to encourage others to go to school. Because there's no water, there is no electricity, there is no accommodation, there is no sympathy. The state government is doing its best, but I think the federal government must intervene. This is on that note that I plead with my colleagues to come to our rescue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues.
Honorable Bonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Uzoma Nkim Abonta. Speaker, I'm from Abia State. I listened to the pathetic story and argument of Honorable where he presented it. He said, tragic and devastating occurrence that left hundreds of people homeless. he also alluded that apart from the various damages that the nature rendered in the village, the people are now scattered. He's now asking that relief, struggle, be provided for them. My worry now is, will NEMA now move in search of them from where they flee, apparently to take refuge, to look for home? If the picture he painted is correct, and I believe is correct, then and therefore we must look for a way to have a camp where the internally displaced persons from Urugu or whatever can be put, while NEMA will be able to address them. You'll agree with me that the picture painted here that they are now scattered in all over neighboring villages. It will be very difficult for NEMA to go to those places to look for them. What I'm talking about is nature dealt a blow on them. This is not a man-made disaster. It's an act of God. It pleases God that thunder and rain will visit whatever in a very harsh manner. Therefore, I want to support the mission, but to say that a temporary IDB camp, a temporary one, be made, since it's only the God-owned schools. He said the Catholic schools, the Catholic churches, all the churches were now blown off. If there's any other school or whatever left where you can now go and gather them, I don't know whether there's a sin or something that brought the disaster that also affected the churches and all whatnot. My prayer in adding to the motion is that as a matter of urgency, if lives were lost and the wounded ones are also going to die if nothing is done, according to his story, our emergency response in Nigeria is not well properly funded to do that. If we say rapid response, it should be in a matter of hours. It should be in a matter of days, not in a matter of weeks or months. Mr. Speaker, you agree with me that emergency response should be immediate, should be spontaneous, should be at the moment. If we lose more lives out of delay, then I do not think that prosperity will forgive us. Therefore, I want to join him today and beg of this house to send succor to them, but we must identify who we are going to help. Are we going to take the relief materials in every part of Uhube or local government? Can you graciously, with the help of this house, gather them where they can come and get it, so that that community, that local government, that state will know that the federal presence or that the federal government feels for them. I therefore support this bill and pray that such natural disaster should not come near them or Nigeria. In fact, let us pray to God that God will have mercy on us and so support.
I think, Honorable Bashir, are you raising your hand? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Kano State. My name is Babale Bashir. Mr. Speaker, it's a very sad event, and it is heart-touching. And it is sad and very unfortunate that what we call national emergency has turned into something else. Because going by the name National Emergency Management Agency, it is the responsibility of intervening when the emergency issues arise. But here we are today, after at least 2 weeks, approaching 3 weeks, without having any intervention, emergency intervention from an agency saddled with the responsibility of intervention when there are emergencies as such. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, today it is in Enugu. It can be in any other state tomorrow, God forbid. And the way and the manner we handle today's case will determine how NEMA as a body will react to emergencies in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, NEMA has turned to something else. You see, when you look at the budget of NEMA, and when you look at the holistic survey on the way and manners NEMA in the past 2 years is conducting its emergency intervention, it is nothing to write home about. Mr. Speaker, here we are with an emergency situation which necessitated the state governor even to visit a place. But there is no, after written to NEMA, there is nobody from NEMA even to take assessment of what happened in that very domain. Talk less of sending relief materials. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we have issues. I know there is referral given to House Committee on NEMA to look at the activities of NEMA in the past 1 year. But as a member of NEMA, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think the money we are budgeting for NEMA and the money coming to NEMA through service-wide vote, Mr. Speaker, it is only at the wish of those at the helm of the affairs to determine where NEMA will intervene and where NEMA will not intervene. It is on record, just 2-3 months ago, millions of dollars were spent just to evacuate Nigerians from Libya. But here we are in Nigeria with an emergency, and that money was taken from NEMA's purse. Millions of dollars taken from NEMA's purse to bring back Nigerians from Libya. But we have issues in Enugu, our doorstep. But there is nobody, no one from NEMA, even to take a survey or to take figures or data of what happened in Enugu. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think this is about human being. And anything about human being, we don't need to toil with it. We need to give it all manners of support. So I urge honorable colleagues, I urge this House to support this motion in total so that we can bring an end to the way and manners NEMA is handling emergencies in Nigeria. Thank you, honorable colleagues.
So I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. There's a prayer in the motion for us to observe a minute's silence in honor of those who lost their life in the unfortunate incident. They will please rise to observe a minute's silence. And may the gentle souls of the departed rest in perfect peace. Honorable members, the first business of the day is presentation of 5 bills. The clerk is invited to read the short titles.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, National Maritime Security Infrastructure Fund Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Energy Commission Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Institute of Co-Development, Management and Administration of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal Polytechnic Ikoyi, Osun State Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal University of Agriculture, Araromi Owu Establishment Bill 2018, first reading.
Honorable members, the second business of the day's presentation of 3 reports of Committee on Public Petitions, standing in the name of Honorable Uzoma Nkema Bonta. Honorable Abonta is now invited to present them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Uzoma Nkema Bonta. Because I'm delighted to see a very charming smile beaming from Mr. Speaker this morning. So all is well. So delighted. Thank you. May God be with you. I move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Public Petition and be shown by Empowerment for Unemployed Youth Initiative and 9 other civil society organizations against the Federal Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Defense on the seizing of Nigerian coastal waterways, SSS, security firm and technology and commercialization of Nigerian Navy to Shepherd Construction Limited. That they have to receive the report on the contemporary petition on petition by Igwe Augustine Azoka Ngozi Nwoko against the Nigerian Police Force Command Oka over the land allocation by Attorney Committee for Police Station Attorney. And then finally that the House do receive the report on Committee on Public Petitions by Ahmed A. Abbas and 25 others against staff school Federal Polytechnic Mubi Adamawa State on their unlawful dismissal. I pray that the House do receive it. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Seconder, Honorable Nkole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Ukondo Nkole, I represent our Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion that been moved by Honorable Abonta. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Abonta, please proceed and lay the reports. Honorable members, start business of the day's presentation of 4 reports of the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream, standing in the name of Honorable Akinlaja Joseph. Honorable Akinlaja is now invited to present the reports.
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir. My name is Honorable Comrade Akinlaja Joseph. I represent Ondo East, Ondo West Federal Constituency. I'm from Ondo State. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleague, I hereby move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream on the urgent need to address the subversion of due process and outright corruption by the management of pipelines and product marketing company PPMC. The House do receive also the report of the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream on the need for a clear-cut policy framework on the regulation of kerosene to avert the current challenges faced by the poor masses in the purchase of kerosene. That the House do receive the report of the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream on the need to arrest the resurgence of kerosene explosion with attendant fatalities. That the House do receive the report of the Committee on Petroleum Resources downstream on the need to investigate the disappearance of 11 billion naira worth of petroleum products belonging to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. I do move, Mr. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Jega.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Mohammed Umar Jega, representing Aliru Gondu Jega Peru constituency. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion that this House will receive the full reports from the chairman, Petroleum Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream. I so second. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Akilaja, please proceed and lay the reports. First order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of Bill for an Act to establish the Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency with a view to conducting research in areas of ethno-medical and veterinary survey so as to develop a comprehensive inventory of medicinal, aromatic and pesticide plants in animals and animal parts, minerals and other biodiversities used in natural medicine in Nigeria and for related matters, standing in the name of the House Leader. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 23rd November 2018. And now I invite the leader to move that the bill be now read a second time. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff, I represent the good people of Kuruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, the House Leader is not available to move item number 1 on the order paper, therefore, move that will step it down.
Item 1 on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. Second order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of Bill for an Act to regulate value-added services in the telecommunications industry for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Ujam Chukwuemeka. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 8 November 2017. And now invite Honorable Ujam to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam. I represent the good people of Nkano East, Nkano West Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Enugu State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to regulate value-added services in the telecommunications industry and for related matters be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Any seconder? Honorable Fijabi. Honorable Yunusa, please sit down. Who is the order? Who is raising a point of order? Honorable Fijabi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Sahid Akiade Fijabi. I'm from Ibadan, Oyo State. I rise to second the motion, the bill moved by Honorable Dr. Emeka Ujam. I so second.
Honorable Ujam, please lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, esteemed honorable colleagues, once again, I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam, representing Nkano East, Nkano West Federal Constituency, and I'm from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this bill is timely in that it seeks to protect what I will refer to as local content within the telecommunications industry. We have budding, enterprising, intelligent individuals who operate within this value-added services sector, and this bill seeks, in the first instance, to protect them and to encourage them from being fleeced by what I would term big brother attitude. Mr. Speaker, the short title is Telecommunications Value-Added Services Regulatory Bill 2017. I'm profoundly appreciative of the opportunity to present this bill for second reading, and the brief argument is thus. The current state of affairs in the Nigerian telecommunications industry is rather inimical to the development of the sector. There are multifaceted challenges faced, such as destruction of local VAS, fintech, mobile financial service industry, discrimination against subscribers, and the perpetration of frauds against public through short code assigned for value-added services, amongst other menaces. The global trend favors a more liberalized and competitive market towards a robust economic development as well as growth of the sector. A value-added services provider is any person or organization that engages in the provision of value-added mobile/fixed services, including premium-rated services for the industry. This bill seeks to provide a regulatory regime that will be mutually beneficial to the key players in the value-added service industry, which includes value-added service providers.
Honorable Madaki, please, before you convert the speaker to Konkosia, can you go back to your seat? Please, Madaki, take your seat. I'm not comfortable with the romance with the speaker.
Value-added services aggregators and network providers with the resultant effect of stimulating growth in the industry. The objectives and benefits of this bill are thus. The bill seeks to provide for a legal and regulatory framework for the regulation of value-added services as a subsector in the telecommunications industry, thereby encouraging local content and stimulating growth in the industry. The bill will empower the main regulatory agency, the Nigerian Communications Commission, to ensure that the current sharing formula between the mobile network operators and the VAS and content developers and VAS hosting services is reviewed upwards in line with industry best practices. The NCC will also have the mandate of ensuring that strict adherence to the contractual terms between and among parties or stakeholders in the industry is maintained, as well as strict adherence to anti-competition and antitrust rules and regulations. The bill will provide a fertile ground for new entry into the telecom industry by investors, thereby promoting competition that would guarantee better services for subscribers and additional revenue to the operators. The bill will also ensure fair and efficient means of resolving complaints arising in respect of value-added services. Finally, the crux of this bill is to ensure the protection of the Nigerian VAS ecosystem from foreign invasion and exploitation towards the protection of Nigeria's economic interest. The contents of the bill consists of 7 clauses, which include Clause 1 for cost of compliance, Clause 2 provides for digital products and revenue share, Clause 3 provides for functions of the value-added service providers, Clause 4 provides for the rights of subscribers, Clause 5 provides for offenses and penalty, Clause 6 provides for interpretation, and Clause 7 is the citation. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I would like to conclude by reiterating the benefits of value-added services. VAS provides advantages for both customers and the service providers. The consumers have the opportunity to receive something above and beyond their basic needs, and providers, and by extension the nation, benefits from increased revenue. I therefore appeal to Mr. Speaker and my honorable colleagues for your overwhelming support for this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. This is it so far.
Any contributor to the debate? Honorable Mark Miller.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My very honorable colleagues, Mark Tese Miller, representing Way East, Way West Federal Constituency of Benue State. I want to commend the sponsor of this bill. This is an issue that has subsisted since the onset of the global system of telecommunications, otherwise known as GSM services in Nigeria. We have a situation currently where the operators milk these value-added service providers to the bone. They take most of the benefit of the services that were conceptualized by these local companies and leave them with nothing at the end of the day, which is an opportunity that would otherwise have created more jobs and more opportunities for Nigerians. And it is also necessary to regulate this aspect of this service, because even the subscribers themselves are left, in a situation where most of the times they have no control over some of these services that they receive. There's something that happens now with some of the operators where you get a message and you don't seem to know exactly what it is, and it tells you cancel or okay, and then if you make the mistake to say okay, you subscribe to something which you have no idea about what it is. So I think it is important there should be some penalties for the provision of these services. I would appreciate it if my honorable colleagues will support this bill so that it can even be more exhaustively discussed and looked at the committee stage. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Iman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My very distinguished colleagues, Emmanuel Ekon is my name. I represent Abak Etimepo Ika Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend my colleague in bringing up this bill. But before I continue, I just want to share a little light, because my colleague mentioned local content more than 5 times when he was doing his presentation. Mr. Speaker, last year we had a retreat in Port Harcourt, and the essence of that retreat was to see how we can diversify local content law to cover other sectors of the economy, with special emphasis on telecoms. Mr. Speaker, the local content law we have now covers just the oil and gas, but the infraction in oil and gas is a child's play compared to what is happening in the telecoms industry. Mr. Speaker, the telecoms, I know very well, has a local content department, which is just like rules. But I was looking at diversifying it, giving it more teeth, giving it the legislative backing, so that we can have like a law regulating the telecoms services in Nigeria, so that Nigerians and other smaller companies that are working with the telecom industry can also benefit the same way Nigerian companies are benefiting from the Oil and Gas Content Act right now. So I needed to share that light, that we are working on something. Very soon we are going to come with a bill that will diversify local content to other sectors, not just the telecoms, power and aviation and all of that. So in supporting you, my brother, I just want you to note that we are working on something so that we can holistically work together for the success and benefit of Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kanike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Dr. Amudako Nike Abubakar. I represent Ilorin East, Ilorin South Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I'm from Kwara State. I rise to support the debate on the bill as moved by Honorable Uja. I'm supporting this bill because originally the telecommunication subsector, when it came to Nigeria, the primary service providers are the pioneering investors, and they are taking their essence of pioneering status to an exploitative level, in my own opinion, right now. The secondary development in any investment in telecommunication is a situation where the value-added services come to play. But what we have in the industry right now is the primary service providers are exploiting people who are operating within the value-added services. They are taking the chunk of the revenue of what is generated because these people are forced to use their platform. The situation at hand that one can readily point to is the situation of the Lottery Commission. We know that a lot of lottery games are being played on this platform now. And even the law that establishes the Lottery Commission stipulates what amount should go to the operator, what amount should go to the winner, and what amount should go to the government. Because this law, or this bill, or the law that establishes NCC is not robust enough for them to be able to regulate, even as lottery is being played on these platforms. We have a situation where NCC cannot enforce that the primary telecom providers are able to conform with the pre-existing law in lottery and in NCC. So more so when you have other people who are artists, people who use the platform to sell their wares. A lot of artists and content of innovative Nigerians are being sold on this platform because yes, they are the ones that are invested in this platform, and this platform is what everybody lashes onto. But when you are exploiting the original value service provider, it has gotten to an exploitative level. What this bill seeks to address is to make sure that you regulate according to what is obtainable globally, and you'll be fair to the content providers, you'll be fair to the value-added services owners, while you're also fair to the common man and to the investors at the same time. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill so that it should be read the second time. Thank you.
Any more contribution? Someone wanted to speak from this row. I'm not too sure who it is. Okay, Honorable Darlington Mwakocha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Darlington Mwakocha. I represent Isialangwa North, Isialangwa South Federal Constituency. I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the presenter of this bill because it's very timely and apt at this point in time. Mr. Speaker, as the name goes, to regulate the value-added services within this commission or the industry. It's very important for us to know that the communication industry or the service as it concerns the telephone services does not start with calls and text messages and that's all. But it extends to a very great extent to these services that are hidden. And because that these services are hidden, the operators now do all manner of things to make sure they will drain both the intellectual property and the financial aspect of the entire industry within these concepts. Mr. Speaker, as I speak, we need to do something to strengthen the law that will help the Commission to protect everything that has to do with this draining of the funds and intellectual property as it concerns the entertainment industry. Today, the entertainment industry and the agreement they had already signed, they are being owed to the tunes of billions of dollars, which have not been paid. And they do not have any law they can rely on to make sure that they will get these funds of the operators. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the presenter because with this bill, it will go a long way to help our people to make sure they will be encouraged to do what they are doing, especially in the entertainment industry. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I call on my colleagues to help, to support, so that we give an express delivery support for this bill to go quite highly accelerated and be passed immediately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, as I see.
So, honorable colleagues, I'll put the question. The question is that the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to regulate value-added services in the telecommunications industry and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Telecommunications. Third order of the day is a motion for rescission and discharge of referrals to Committees on Defense, Federal Capital Territory, FCT, and Special Duties, pursuant to Order 9, Rule 16 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives, standing in the name of Honorable E.Y. Okejeff. Honorable Okejeff is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okejeff, I represent the good people of Buruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Plenary State. This is a motion for rescission on the discharge of referrals to the Committees on Defense, FCT, and Special Duties pursuant to Order 9, Rule 16 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives. The House notes that on 13th and 21st February 2018, respectively, the Committees on Defense, FCT, and Special Duties were discharged from the referrals of the under-mentioned bills pursuant to Order 17, Rule 3(1)G of the Standing Orders of the House. 1. Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria Bill 2016. 2. Security Services Welfare Infrastructural Development Commission Bill 2015. 3. FCT College of Agriculture Establishment Bill 2015. 4. FCT University of Science and Technology Abaji Establishment Bill 2015. 5. Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission Bill 2016. Informed that the committees have conducted public hearings on the bills and have written their reports, which are waiting presentation in line with legislative practice and procedures, but had not presented them before they were discharged from the referrals. Also informed that the reports of the committees with the aggregated opinions of the players and stakeholders in the sectors are now ready for presentation. The House therefore resolves: 1. To rescind the resolutions of 13th and 21st February 2018, respectively, which discharge the Committees on Defense, FCT, and the special duties of the referrals on the bills. And 2. Refer the bills back to the Committees on Defense, FCT, and Special Duties, respectively, for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I so move.
Seconder. Who is seconding, please? Honorable Nasir Zangwan Daura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Nasir Zangwan Daura. Honorable colleagues, I represent Zango Bore Federal Constituency. I'm from Katsina State. I rise to second the motion as moved by our Chairman, Special Rules and Business. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Fourth order of the day is a motion on urgent need to restore the Oron Calabar ferry services, standing in the name of Honorable Nse Basi Epeyon. Honorable Basi Epeyon is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name remains Right Honorable Nse Epeyon, representing the good people of Odo Odunwuko Mbo, Okobonu Reformed Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion on the urgent need to restore the Odo Calabar ferry services. The House note will concern the abandonment of ferry services flying the Odo Calabar route in Akwa Ibom State. Also note that the ferry route, which was a nexus of interstate commercial and tourist activities, has been paralyzed for more than 16 years, with attendant losses in revenue running into millions of naira. Aware that the delay and the hardship being encountered in traveling from Oro to Calabar by road would have been less cumbersome if the ferry services were still operational, the House is cognizant that with the dwindling fortune in the oil and gas sector, the revamping of the ferry services will assist immensely in improving the sources of revenue for the country. Also aware that the traffic caused by heavy vehicular movement along the Calabar to highway would be reduced drastically if the ferry services has restored, thereby saving the route from further colossal damage. The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Ports, Harbours and Waterways to investigate the causes of abandonment of ferry services with the view of causing its restoration and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move.
Seconder. Any seconder? Honorable Dekola.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Shegun Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1. I rise to second this notable, this all-important motion as ably moved by my friend Ekoyon. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bassi, please. Honorable Bassi, lead the debate. Please, can you speak to your mic, please? We can't hear you.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, my name remains Right Honorable Elder Nsa Ekpenyong, speaking for the good people of Odo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, this is a very straightforward motion seeking for the restoration of the Odo Calabar ferry services, which has been abandoned more than 16 years, despite the attendant losses in revenue running to millions of naira. Mr. Speaker, the hardship being experienced by the people of this federal constituency would have been reduced drastically if these ferry services were still functional. Without taking your time, Mr. Speaker, I therefore call on my colleagues to once again show their usual spirit of patriotism in supporting this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my honorable colleagues.
Honorable Dr. Achibo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Dr. Henry Okonachibo, representing the people of Itu, Ibiono Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in favor of this motion that is heavily moved by my colleague on the need to restore the Oron Calabar ferry services. Mr. Speaker, the restoration of this ferry service between Oron and Calabar is very, very key to the economic activities of both states. For the simple reason that a journey that will take Akwa Ibom to Calabar for about 1 hour 30 minutes. If this ferry is put back into use, it can just take only about 15 to 20 minutes to cross between Akwa Ibom to Calabar. And considering the fact that our roads have been so overutilized with heavy vehicular traffic, and that's one of the reasons why the roads are not standing the test of time. I believe that if that ferry service is brought back into life, a lot of vehicular traffic that would have been going along the Calabar to highway would have been rechanneled to crossing the ferry. Apart from the fact that that road, the Calabar to road, is so bad, we had brought motions here, and the federal government had in their usual way, had appropriated 54 billion to reconstruct that road, which today nothing has actually been released. We believe that if the ferry is reactivated, it could actually reduce the pressure. Apart from the fact that that also can yield a lot of revenue for the two states involved. So I wish to support that this motion be duly considered. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Fifth order of the day, honorable colleagues, a motion on need to investigate the recent mishaps involving Dana Airline, standing in the name of Honorable Prestige Osi. Honorable Osi is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Prestige Osi, member representing industrious and commercial oriented people of Aba North, Aba South Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, and from Abia State. The motion is on the need to investigate the recent mishap involving Dana Airlines. The House notes that Dana Airline Limited is a fully privately owned carrier which commenced flight operations on 10th of November 2008 and has been a troubled airline with unpredictable history of accidents and mishap. Recall that on the 3rd of June 2012, after passengers had boarded the aircraft at Lagos Airport, it was allegedly delayed from takeoff as aeronautic engineers discovered some fault and changed the hydraulic fluid under the left side undercarriage tire mechanism. Also recall that in the same year, Dana Air Flight 0992 crashed into a two-story building in Iju, Ishaga, a densely populated area of Lagos State, only 4 nautical miles from Murtala Mohammed International Airport, killing all the 153 passengers on board and some residents of the building. Also note that the aircraft McDonnell Douglas MD-83 was manufactured in 1983 and has had history of mechanical problems which its former owners, US-based Alaska Airlines, before it was sold to Dana Airlines in 2009. Aware that on 19th of February 2018, Dana aircraft number 9J0363 flying from Abuja to Port Harcourt crash-landed at the Port Harcourt International Airport, but no casualty was recorded, as all passengers on board were evacuated. An accident which occurred due to heavy downpour, accompanied with a strong wind and storms in Port Harcourt. Informed that a few weeks earlier, the same Dana aircraft had its door opened while landing at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Concerned, Mr. Speaker, that the lives and properties of passengers may not be safe as a result of the series of mishaps associated with Dana Airlines. The House resolved to mandate the Committee on Aviation to investigate the circumstances that led to the crash landing and the opening of the aircraft door while it was about landing, and report back to the House within 1 week for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Garba Ibrahim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Garba Ibrahim Mohammed, representing Gwale Federal Constituency of Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion, ably moved by Honorable Prestige Osi. I so second.
Honorable Osi, please can you lead the debate?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank this House for the opportunity given me to talk on this very important motion that has to do with the safety of lives of innocent Nigerians by Dana Airline. Mr. Speaker, I want to recall that this airline have had history of problems with the safety that is supposed to be the watchword of this particular agency. Mr. Speaker, it should be recalled that some years ago that we had this airline having crash landed in Lagos, killing all people on board. And just of recent, Mr. Speaker, sometime last month, it came up again with stories of an aircraft landing and the emergency door opened. Mr. Speaker, if you can only see this kind of thing happen when we are talking of the old rickety Danfo vehicles that ply our Lagos roads, we have never heard of any aircraft anywhere in the world that landed with the door opening as it lands. As if that was not enough, just 2 weeks, the same aircraft went to Port Harcourt and crash landed. Our report have it, Mr. Speaker, that there was a warning by NIMET to all airlines that the weather is not too good for any aircraft to land. And I also have it on good authority, Mr. Speaker, that other airlines like Air France and other international airlines refused to land in Port Harcourt because of that warning by NIMET. But because of the fact that airlines do not adhere to the safety regulations of NCA, they now landed, and that took that plane off the runway, which if not for God's intervention, I'm sure by now we will be nursing our wounds of those who lost their life in that same aircraft. Mr. Speaker, I think this is the time for this House to call the agency that is in charge of supervising this aircraft before they will be put in Nigerian space. The agency like NCAA, which have the basic and the primary responsibility of inspecting these airlines before they take off. And after landing, it is also their duty to check all the necessary things. Experts have it, Mr. Speaker, that there are 3 major things that can cause an aircraft to crash land. One is poor visibility. It is on record that there was poor visibility that day, and that this particular pilot refused to adhere to safety guidelines. And at the end of the day, as we speak, nothing has been heard of NCAA. We also have it, Mr. Speaker, that it could be as a result of a faulty brake that can cause it. Nobody can tell whether it's as a result of faulty brake or not. Another issue that was raised was the fact, Mr. Speaker, that it could be that there was heavy downpour that must have caused waterlogged on that runway that can make the aircraft to skip on the actual area where it's supposed to have landed. Mr. Speaker, we're talking of safety of lives of Nigerians. And history have it, Mr. Speaker, that this is how these things start. If you recall, Mr. Speaker, some years back when we were having these issues of aircraft crashing in Nigeria, it started with this kind of little mishap. And at the end of the day, it graduated to a very big one. So it is high time, Mr. Speaker, that we call on this particular airline to make sure that they adhere to safety regulations, and at the same time, Mr. Speaker, call on NCAA, which primary duty it is to make sure that we have our aircraft airworthy before they fly. On this one, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House to please investigate this particular airline, because once bitten, twice shy. We cannot continue to allow these airlines, because of whatever interest some of these regulators have in them, to take our lives and properties of Nigerians to be something that we will not take care of. Mr. Speaker, it is my wish that this House, and I urge my colleagues to please support this motion with the speed of light. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Doze.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I want to commend the mover of this motion, and I want to make it very clear, Mr. Speaker, that all of us were aware that it's a big challenge on the aviation sector of this country. All of us are aware, 360 members here, we move around the oversight functions with airplanes, some to Lagos, Abuja, and the whole country. If you enter a Nigerian plane, you cannot even sleep, Mr. Speaker. You cannot blink your eyes or sleep and relax,
But if we enter foreign airlines, the Speaker, we are all very comfortable. What is the problem? Why is it happening? Are we not tired of hearing deaths in our airlines? If you go to an airport, they will collect money, collect bribe, and all manner of things instead of doing their duty. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, something is very, very wrong with the system. It's either there is negligence of duty, or I don't know how to explain this. But I know that we, as legislators of this Federal Republic of Nigeria, we must stand and do what we are supposed to do for safety of our citizens. I can recall some years back when either Sosoliso or Bellevue crashed and we lost hundreds of our students, young students. Mr. Speaker, I cried so much. And today we are about seeing such a thing happening again. When shall we learn? Are we not tired of all this? We want action. It's very important this investigation is being carried out so that we'll get to the root cause of this problem and handle it. If it is a problem that we need the House to know, Mr. Speaker, this House, we know it. And also, Mr. Speaker, the sexual debate we're having with the ministers, I believe that we will call the Minister of Aviation, State Aviation, to come and explain or tell the House the procedures and all the things they have to do in our aviation sector. It's very, very vital and it's very important, Mr. Speaker. And I support this motion and I support the House to support this motion. Thank you.
Honorable Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Dennis Amade. I represent Uti, the Zamfara constituency of Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the removal of this motion, which is timely for the safety of our aviation and air passengers. I believe that as a country that we're always quicker to return airlines that have accidents within our country. Dana in 2012, a lot of people lost their life, including a friend, a husband and wife and 4 children. That generation got perished with the same Dana. And it was as a result of negligence, where it has been complained that an airline has fault on its engine and the pilot tried to manipulate to fly that aircraft to Lagos. People got lost, their dependents are suffering today. Most of us here are breadwinners, and it's very painful when you manage to group somebody who can attain a height of moving within the country, and within a twinkle of an eye, for mere peanuts, people certify airlines that are not airworthy to fly in our airspace. It is unfortunate. The same Dana, the aircraft that crashed, was about 26 years old before it came into Nigeria. In this modern era where people are flying new generation aircraft, we are still allowing our air operators to go and be buying scrap, CKD, aircraft that are not worthy to fly in any European country. They will come into Nigeria and be operating. Mr. Speaker, I support the move of this motion that this House should investigate thoroughly the incident and the trail of history following Dana. It is unheard of. We are taking it lightly because it's been mentioned that aircraft door opened while landing, that the aircraft will run out of the runway while landing in Port Harcourt. Assuming lives were lost in those 2 incidents, we won't be here today. It will affect many of us who are here. There are constituents, there are people who represent here, there are people who are doing one thing or the other for the upliftment of Nigeria. I think, Mr. Speaker, it is not an industry that we should just pay lip service to. There is need to, just like my previous speaker have mentioned, to bring in the Minister of Aviation or whomever is designated to come in the regulatory agencies that lead this parliament on way forward to ensure optimal air safety for our aviation industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will not belabor this issue and I enjoy my colleagues to contribute to ensure that this investigation is carried out to the letter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Rotimi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, my name is Prince Rotimi Agunsoye, representing Koshope Federal Constituency of Lagos. Mr. Speaker, I rise to lend my voice to the motion at hand. Mr. Speaker, it's as if we do not have respect for human lives. NCAA must be queried because it is the function or the functions of the NCAA to look after all these airlines. Mr. Speaker, one, all the aircrafts that are being used by Ghana, I'm sure they are very old. They are using MD-83 aircrafts, which was manufactured in between 1970 to 1980. And they are the system there is analog, not digital. Mr. Speaker, there is need for NCAA to check the airworthiness certificates of all the aircrafts. If those aircrafts are not fit to fly, I mean, for God's sake, they should ground them. If it is pilot's error, all the pilots must be trained and retrained so that our people will be safe when we are flying. Look at this house. We are 360 members here, and I can assure you that on a weekly basis, we fly. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion, and I will want each and every one of us to please support it. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Kamale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice. And before then, I am Adamudi Yu Kamale. I represent Michigan Madagascar Federal Constituency. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend also the mover of this motion. This motion affects all of us, whether we are in the south or in the north or in the center. Mr. Speaker, I would like us to move away from lamentation. We are a parliament that is empowered to act. We are a parliament that if something goes wrong in this country, we have the responsibility and the mandate of Nigerians to do something. And as such, Mr. Speaker, I stand to request or recommend two measures that is supposed to be added. Mr. Speaker, it is very important for us to direct the Federal Ministry of Aviation and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to review the age of the aircraft that are operating in Nigerian airspace. Mr. Speaker, we should review it purpose in the sense that any aircraft that have lived up to 28 years or 25 years should be phased out. Mr. Speaker, even the clothes we wear has a time. Everything made under the heaven has a time frame that it gets expired. Mr. Speaker, we cannot keep aircraft that stays 30 years, 35 years, and people are still using it in our airspace. The unfortunate thing, Mr. Speaker, is that most of the aircraft that are being used here have been rejected in other countries. And we have allowed it to be used in our own airspace. Mr. Speaker, we have lost several lives that we cannot continue to play with this. The second aspect, Mr. Speaker, is that we have to make it mandatory for the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and the Federal Ministry of Aviation to bring monthly report on the safety of this aircraft to this parliament. Mr. Speaker, our oversight function does not end only with monetary values. We appropriate for the safety of our airspaces. We appropriate for the running of the Ministry of Aviation. And as such, Mr. Speaker, we have the right and the mandate of our people to demand reports on a monthly basis on how safe are these aircraft, so that we will be able to be in a position to tell people or to warn people or to warn or reprimand any airline that fails below standard. Mr. Speaker, these are my check, and I would like to move it as a motion because there are two amendments that I want to make, which is very important. Thank you so much.
Honorable Iman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Emmanuel Ekod is my name. I represent Abak Etimekboika Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to thank my brother, Honorable Prestige. Mr. Speaker, well, sometime last month I was bereaved, and when Dana had the first incident in Lagos, no, the one in Abuja, and the second one in Port Harcourt, I was thinking, in fact, I was preparing a motion to read in the floor here, but because of my challenges, I couldn't present that motion. But I'm happy today that Honorable Prestige has come up with this motion. Mr. Speaker, we need to do something against Dana. Otherwise, Dana will do something against us. Now, we cannot say that a child that is 16 years or 25 years old is the same with a man that is 65 or 70 years old. The MD-83, MD-84 that Dana is using today, if you look at the report on those equipment, you find out that those equipment were originally owned by an airline in Alaska, in the USA. And what happened to those airlines in Alaska? Those airlines had electrical issues, and they were first off by the original owners. So Dana acquired those assets from them. Yes, Dana will come and tell us that those problems were fixed, but then for an aircraft that is more than 30 years, 40 years, cannot be the same, and that had electrical issue, no matter how you fix it, cannot be the same. The fact that a man that is 65 or 70 years of age has a good medical record cannot come and tell me that a boy that is 25 is the same because he has a good medical record. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice. I want to support my brother, Honorable Prestige. I want to support this motion that we need to do something against Dana now. Otherwise, Dana will do something against us. We were elected by Nigerians to represent their interests. We are their speakers in this country today. If anything is going wrong, their own representative should be able to stand up against what is going wrong. So today, I urge my colleagues that we should come together and see what we can do against Dana before Dana do something against us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Nasir Ali Ahmed. I represent Nasir Federal Constituency, and I'm from Kano State, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the mover of this motion, and I also wish to stress that this is a wake-up call for all of us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very passionate when it comes to air travel. I say so, Mr. Speaker, because I know in this honorable chamber, almost every single person here today has either lost a relative, a friend, or somebody that they know from air accidents. And Mr. Speaker, in spite of the high cost of air travel, a lot of Nigerians that can afford it would rather travel by air for one simple reason, because of the insecurity that is associated with traveling by road. There's the possibility of kidnaps, armed robbery, and so many different things. So people prefer to travel by air if they can afford it. Mr. Speaker, this same Dana Air this same Dana Air, Mr. Speaker, in 2012, like the member that moved the motion said, we had the issue of 153 people that lost their lives because of this accident that happened in Lagos. In the same year, an accident was averted, Mr. Speaker, and it was also the same Dana Air. Now we're in 2018, the same Dana Air
landed in Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport with its door open. Mr. Speaker, there is something wrong with Dana Air. And until the authorities step up to their responsibilities, then I am afraid, Mr. Speaker, there is a greater tragedy waiting to happen. Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford that to happen. We cannot wait till a catastrophe happens before we take action. Mr. Speaker, I urge this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, to please support this motion. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Edward Pojok. I represent the South Just East. Mr. Speaker, while I agree with this motion and the prayers contained, I think we should look beyond just Dana Airline. Mr. Speaker, we all know before any aircraft is allowed to take off, there must be permission given by the regulatory authorities. So how come Dana, as I mentioned in the motion, it had an accident some years ago, and many of our citizens died in that air crash. But before they started flying again, they were given a clean bill of health, meaning they were airworthy. So we should also be questioning the regulatory authorities, which are allowing not only Dana Air, but I dare say other airlines from flying with airworthy aircrafts. Mr. Speaker, we should be asking for audit of all the aircrafts flying in Nigerian airspace. We should be asking for investigation, a thorough investigation of all the regulatory agencies, NAMA, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, and all the other agencies. Let us list them one by one and let them tell us whether they are up to speed in their role, because they are endangering no human lives. Today, maybe because we've heard of the mishaps concerning Dana Airline, we may be assuming, if we pass this motion the way the prayers account, that other airlines are safe. I dare say that it may not be so, because some of the aircrafts do not have the modern landing instruments like ILS. So we need to thoroughly investigate and find out whether all these aircrafts have the necessary navigational aids, and whether even the authorities even have the navigational aids, because we've also read in the papers that maybe Nigeria does not even have proper radar no coverage of our airspace. So to me, we should be looking beyond just the narrow prayers as couched by the sponsor of the motion. Yes, they have done a very good job by drawing our attention to what's happening today in the airline industry. Mr. Speaker, I read somewhere that last year was the safest in terms of aviation no history, that there was no accident that led to the loss of lives in civil aviation worldwide. Because once there's any accident in any part of the world, it's reported immediately. But I think in Nigeria, we should thank God that we didn't have any mishap last year that led to the loss of lives. But we shouldn't wait, because it's like we are trying God. We shouldn't wait until something bad happens before we now start saying, oh, let us do the needful. Mr. Speaker, this is the time for us to investigate not just Dana Airline, I'm repeating myself, but the regulatory agencies and all other airlines in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my colleagues for giving me the opportunity.
Honorable Sergius.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues, I'm Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I am from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice to this debate and to thank the mover of the motion, my very good friend, Honorable Prestige Osi. Mr. Speaker, I am sure that most of us here know I am very passionate about the airworthiness of all the planes, the aeroplanes in this country, because I have come here with so many motions. Now somebody even told me the other day, what's your interest in the aviation industry? Because the minimum I fly every week is twice, minimum. I'm up there in the air, but I'm not just talking about myself, because I know I can't leave this earth in a violent way. There are so many people that we are speaking for
for Nigerians. I don't think the challenge here is so much of the age of the aeroplanes. Because in the Western world, we see fly most of these old planes. Besides the fact that they have, you know, machine shops and all, and they have good hands to maintain them out there. It's like buying a Tokumbo American car. How do you maintain it here? After a couple of years, you begin to run into trouble. So the challenge now is, like my brother Honorable Kwajov said, is to task the regulatory agencies to make sure they are actually doing their work. Yes, because when any plane goes down, you check, go and check, you are losing the breadwinners in that family. And that can set families back years. Last week here, my brother Honorable Kani came with emotion that even the C checks, most of these planes can't even go to Europe for the C checks. And what are the regulatory agencies doing? They are manipulating the document. That is criminal. And I think that should be investigated. Because if you close our eyes to our responsibilities here and allow these things to happen, it's not when there's a crash that we begin to invite the minister here. It would have been too little, too late. Because what do you tell a family that's lost a breadwinner? That you have done your bit by inviting the minister here? Would that bring the man that has died back or the woman? So my amendment I have sent out here to you, Mr. Speaker, all the agencies should be invited here and they should tell us what they know and what they don't know and what they are doing about what they know. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues. I support this motion 110%.
Honorable Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Dixon Taki. I represent Makodi Goma Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Plenary State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to add my voice to this very important motion. I want to appreciate my friend. Prestige for this motion is very timely. Mr. Speaker, mine is a rider from the contribution of a colleague who spoke very passionately about the age of an aircraft. Mr. Speaker, the age of an aircraft from experience has nothing to do with its airworthiness. We know very well that the prime aircraft of Boeing, the 747, the last one that rolled out of the factory was in 1984. If you go all over Europe and other airlines that bought 747, they're still flying them. They are airworthy because of maintenance. And the agencies that regulate airlines across the world ensure that these aircrafts are airworthy. What are our regulatory agencies doing? The same thing goes for Charlie 130. The Charlie C-30 is an old aircraft. I'm aware that our Air Force are still flying Charlie 130 right now because they have been maintained. They ensure that these aircraft are airworthy. What this committee need to do, what the House need to do to ensure that the agencies that are regulating our airlines are doing their jobs. They need to do their jobs. They need to ensure that any aircraft that takes off from our airport is airworthy. A situation where air regulators connive with airlines to falsify documents of their C checks is what is happening in this country, and it's very, very rampant. We should ensure that these things are stopped, which is why I support my friend, Honorable Sergio's call that these agencies must be invited to the House to explain the reason why we are having incidences like that. When a life is lost, it's gone and it's gone. So we must ensure the safety of Nigerians or other citizens who come into this country and are flying. Thank you very much.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Oh, there are plenty of amendments, really. First amendment from Adamu Kamale.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Adamu Liu Kamale. I represent Michigan Madagal Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I stand to move that the Federal Ministry of Aviation and Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority to review the age limit of the aircraft operating in Nigeria, that's registered in Nigeria. I also call on the Federal Ministry of Aviation and NCAA to submit monthly report on all aircraft registered in Nigeria to the National Assembly, House of Representatives Committee on Aviation. And so move.
Any seconder to the proposed amendment? Honorable Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Dixon Taki. I represent Makodi Guma Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Plenary State. I rise to second the motion as amended by Honorable Kamali.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next amendment is from Honorable Sergio Sogun. Honorable Sergio, move your amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I'm Sergio Ogun. I represent Eastern Southeast, Eastern Northeast, and I'm from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, my amendment is that we get all the agencies in here to tell us what the challenges are, and the agencies, I list them: NIMET, FAA, NCAA, and NAMA. They should all come here and tell us the state of the aeroplanes flying in Nigeria. If I can orally just add, Mr. Speaker, can I just add that we get an ad hoc committee to do this? And I know there are so many motions like this in the Committee of on Aviation. Thank you.
Honorable colleagues, go back to your seat, please. Honorable colleagues, please go back to your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is
Honorable colleagues, go back to your seat. 7 of you, please go back to your seat. Let Mr. Speaker
consider the amendment being proposed by my friend, Honorable Sergio Sogun, especially that an ad hoc committee be constituted to take care of this motion, so that we can have a reliable investigation. Thank you.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it.
Honorable Jika, go back to your seat.
Honorable Sergio, you need to redraft your amendment, please. The way you moved it and it was carried. Next amendment is from Honorable Ben Wonko. Honorable Ben Wonko. Any seconder? Seconder. Honorable UK, you are not on your seat, but you can second. Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next amendment is from Honorable Doze Wanko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues. I move to the House to set up an ad hoc committee to carry out the resolution of the House and report back
to the House in 6 weeks. The second amendment is to carry out an integrity test of all the equipment of all the airlines operating in Nigeria. As well.
Okay, the first part on ad hoc committee has been taken from Honorable Sargis' motion. So take the additional prayer. Any seconder? Honorable Pondi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Julius Pondi. I represent the very good people of the federal constituency, Mr. Speaker, from Delta State. I rise to second the amendment, ably moved by my colleague. That's a second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Last but not least, notice of amendment from Honorable Edward Pajok.
I step it down because it has been taken.
The amendment has been taken. Okay, I'll put the question on the motion. Those in favor of the motion as severally amended say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Sixth order of the day, honorable colleagues, the motion on need to address the infrastructure and other challenges along the Abuja-Kaduna rail line, standing in the name of Honorable Sadiq Ibrahim. Honorable Ibrahim is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I write pursuant to your invitation to ask the House to note that on the 27th of July 2016, the federal government commissioned the Abuja-Kaduna rail line to boost rail transportation and commercial activities between the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and Kaduna State, and by extension, the northwest geopolitical zone of the country. I want the House to also note that the train undertakes 4 trips daily from Abuja to Kaduna, except on Sundays, when it leaves Abuja by 12:30 p.m. to Kaduna, and then departs Kaduna at 4 p.m. and arrive Abuja at 6:20 p.m. I want the House to be aware, Mr. Speaker, that the train has a 360 passenger capacity and is fully air conditioned with first and second class coaches that have male and female restrooms. I want the House to be aware that the first class passengers now pay 3,000 naira, while the second class passengers pay 1,500 only. However, Mr. Speaker, the air conditioning system in the second class compartment does not function due to the adulterated diesel allegedly supplied by the contractors who are alleged to be cronies of the management of the company. I want the House to be further aware that the train has 9 stopover stations between Idu in the FCT and Rigasa in Kaduna, but only 3 stations in Idu and Kubwa have security lights. And the failure of the corporation to maintain security lights in the 6 other stations is capable of endangering the lives of passengers who would be disembarking at those stations at night. This House is being informed that each of the substations has only 4 policemen on duty and who do not carry firearms at the moment, while the staff are alleged to be in the habit of ticket racketeering. Therefore, we should be concerned, Mr. Speaker, also that mobile telecommunication service is extremely poor along the rail route from Abuja to Kaduna. Thus, passengers can hardly make phone calls or access internet facilities. Thus, in the event of breakdown on the way, urgent calls for help may only come through the use of the train's communication facility. We should also be concerned that the train is being maintained by a Chinese engineering firm that has allegedly deployed only 2 engineers for the purpose, and there is no effort to train Nigerian engineers to learn to maintain the train. And the 2 engineers, Chinese engineers, are living at a huge cost to the federal government without any plan for transfer of technology. And I want to inform the House that the corporation generates at least 1 million naira per day for ticket sales only and operates throughout the week. Yet, lower cadre of staff are grossly underpaid and have extreme poor welfare packages. We should further be concerned, Mr. Speaker, that from Itu in Abuja to the Gasa in Kaduna, a distance of just 187 kilometers, the train takes up to 2 hours and 20 minutes to cover. While in other African countries that are less endowed, like Ethiopia and Morocco, their trains cover 320 kilometers per hour, which is far more efficient and faster than the trains in Nigeria. I therefore call upon the House to please resolve to urge the Inspector General of Police to deploy armed and adequate number of policemen to provide security at each of the 9 stations between Abuja and Kaduna, and to mandate the Committee on Land Transport to intervene or to interface with the Nigerian Railway Corporation with a view to addressing the challenges and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Hong Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Sadiq Ibrahim Dasin. I so second.
Although this is a motion bordering on infrastructure, I yield the floor to Honorable Sadiq in case he wants to elaborate on the points he's mentioned in the course of moving the motion. Otherwise, I'll put the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say just a few things to elaborate on the points already made. Mr. Speaker, we all know the functions or the values of rail transport. Not only it provides employment, it also encourages tourism, it also helps during calamities and in shortened distances. And Mr. Speaker, it helps in developing the outlook of the people. It is also very useful, Mr. Speaker, in internal security, and it helps in internal trade and development of agriculture. And it also eases the mobility of labor and capital. Mr. Speaker, you recall that this particular administration is very keen on developing infrastructure, railroads in particular. And Mr. Speaker, you may recall that this House had approved for Mr. President a total of $6.9 billion to upgrade the current rail system that we have to a standard gauge and therefore be in tandem with what obtains all over the world. Mr. Speaker, you know the Chinese are not only here in Nigeria, they are developing infrastructure in Eastern Africa and in North Africa. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we need to take advantage of what is happening now. And with the colossal amount of money approved for Mr. President to borrow, to ensure that we do not have what we have present in Kaduna, if eventually we have the coastal rail line and the Lagos-Kaduna-Abuja rail line, even the one that will come from Taraba, from Benue to Taraba to Adamawa that will link Borno State and back. We have to make sure that what is happening in Kaduna does not repeat itself in the areas where we would want to have these rail lines to cover. For instance, all the 6 stations that are said about here, they do not have electricity. I have taken this train day and night from Abuja to Kaduna. Anytime this train have a stopover, the passenger that will be disembarking and those that will be coming, you will not see the passenger that is coming. It is in complete total darkness. Mr. Speaker, I have talked about the ticketing, which I said there is serious racketeering. Those tickets, Mr. Speaker, they are numbered in biro. On a number of occasions, I have seen passengers that have double number. Passenger number 1 will have his ticket number 1, and another number 1 will come and they'll be fighting over a ticket. Therefore, it may be because the tickets are written in biro, it may be pure human error, but it will also be as a result of corruption. Therefore, I would like to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that the Railway Corporation be made to outsource this ticketing, so that from the company that produces the tickets, the numbers will be there, so that there is no need for a passenger to come and accost another passenger and say, sit up from my seat, because the seats have already been allocated from the company if it is allowed to outsource. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to suggest that the tickets be sold online. Otherwise, so many passengers are recycling the same ticket. You use your ticket to Kaduna, you return it to Abuja, and then there are many other issues that we may need to take care of. And therefore, I would like, Mr. Speaker, to finally call on the committee in charge of land transport to look at these issues, to nip them in the bud before we get a large conflagration in our hands when our railways all over the country comes aboard. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Seventh order of the day is a motion on need to equip and make the federal fire service more efficient. Standing in the name of Honorable O.K. Chinda. Honorable Chinda is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues. Kingsley Chinda. I represent Obiabo Federal Constituency. I'm an inquiry man from River State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I thank you for the opportunity, but in order to save legislative manner, I might be compelled to step down this motion. We have a similar motion slated for tomorrow by Honorable Dozie Wangwo. So I think that when that motion is taken tomorrow, I can make my input and then perhaps seek for amendment to the prayers. They are almost on the same issue. So I seek for your leave to step down this motion.
Item 7 on the order paper, step down by leave of the House. 8th order of the day is a motion on need for the National Directorate of Employment, NDA, to commence work on the proposed skills acquisition center in Ajeromi, Felodun Federal Constituency of Lagos State, standing in the name of Honorable Rita Orji. Honorable Orji is now invited to move the motion. Rules and business.
That, Miss. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to apply that item 8 be stepped down because Honorable Rita Orji is not on the floor of the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Item 8 on the order paper, step down by leave of the House. 9th order of the day, honorable colleagues, a motion on need to upgrade the teaching hospitals, the National Hospital Abuja, to international standard, standing in the name of Honorable Shegun Alexander Adekola. Honorable Adekola is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Shegun Alexander Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1 of Ekiti State. My motion, Mr. Speaker, is on the need to upgrade the teaching hospitals and the National Hospital Abuja to international standard. The House notes that available statistics show that Nigerians spend over $1 billion, that is 360 billion yearly, on medical treatment abroad, with the most popular destinations being India, UK, Germany, United States, Israel, and some other countries in the Middle East. The House also notes that despite Nigeria being a major signatory to the Abuja Declaration of Heads of Government, which resolved to adopt a minimum of 15% as national health budgets for all members in Africa, the country has never exceeded 6% since that laudable step was taken in 2001. The House also aware that in 2017, less than 5% 303 billion of the budget was allocated for health care, despite serious negative health indices, including the dishonor of being a major exporter of the other polio virus to other nations. The House also aware that the 1% consolidated funds which the National Health Act 2014 stipulated should be for health, especially for universal health coverage with health insurance and primary health care, has never been implemented since the Act was enacted in 2014. The House further aware that several studies have shown that if the 20 teaching hospitals spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country are refurbished and made to function optimally, Nigerians will not need to travel abroad for medical treatment, and it will also prevent brain drain in the health sector. The House is concerned that the National Hospital Abuja that was built to offer world-class health services is perhaps the most obvious demonstration of this problem, as it has become a shadow of its former self. Beset by glaring case of insufficient equipment, including a non-functioning MRI and linear accelerator machines, the House therefore resolved to urge the Federal Ministry of Health to upgrade at least one teaching hospital in each of the geopolitical zone and the National Hospital Abuja to international standard to curb the incessant rate of medical tourism abroad. The House also set in motion necessary machineries that will ensure an upward review of the budgetary allocation for the health sector to meet the minimum 50% recommended by African heads of states in Abuja, known as the Abuja Declaration 2001, and enhances the full implementation of the budget in the health sector so as to elevate the quality of medical services available in the local health institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable colleagues, I think the third prayer is a mistake. I didn't recommend that third prayer. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Bass.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Tajuddin Adekunle Obasa, representing Ojo Federal Constituency from Lagos State, the baby of the House. I arise to second the motion as heavily moved by Honorable Shegun Alexandra. I so second. Thank you.
Honorable Shegun, please lead the debate.
Thank you, my honorable speaker, sir, and my honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a national shame, so to say, and it calls for sober reflection, that Nigeria, the giant of Africa, having oil boom for over 40 years, windfall of oil boom, cannot boast of a single state-of-art hospital, world-class hospital, to take care of terminal diseases or even general diseases in Nigeria. It is a shame. And most of the rulers that have ruled Nigeria have never deemed it fit, though they use taxpayer money to go abroad, to go and treat their wives, their family. Of note, President Olusegun Obasanjo, his wife of blessed memory, several billions was used to treat her. Likewise, when our former president Jonathan's wife was sick, billions. Even the present president, we all know how much of our taxpayer billions of naira that was used to treat ailments abroad. Mr. Speaker, sir, the common masses are suffering. A lot of diseases are ravaging our citizens. The children are being ravaged by kwashiorkor, adult marasmus, udema, so many diseases. And nowadays, as a result of recession, so many people are being ravaged by heart attack, cardiovascular diseases, diabetic diseases. The hospitals in Nigeria has no equipment.
If the equipments are there, it's either they are obsolete, archaic, or outdated. Yet, no single Nigerian leader has ever thought it wise to build, to construct a state-of-art hospital to take care of our citizens. Our core value in Nigeria has to be revisited. What is our core value? Do we even know what we are doing in Nigeria? Billions of naira are transferred to foreign lands yearly. The hospitals in Nigeria, the hospital staff in Nigeria, they cannot even afford to pay their salaries. Whereas the taxpayer money through civil servants, through public office holders, are being taken to abroad to service of hospitals in abroad. Mr. Speaker, sir, that is why I'm moving this motion, that at least in this geopolitical zone, a state-of-art hospital must be built to cater for health services of our people, so that an healthy nation is a nation that can develop. If a nation is not healthy, the disease of a nation is not healthy, the nation can never be healthy. So for this nation to develop, we need to revisit our health care services, so that Nigeria, we can move forward and our citizens can enjoy the dividend of this democracy. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dimeji.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Dimeji. I am also from Ekiti State and I represent Ado Ekiti, the rep of the Federal Constituency. I want to add my voice to this important motion. To start with, when we visit any of these hospitals, you see the pains of the patients. Most of the times, the equipment are not there. I had a very bitter experience. I had a patient I took to UCH Ibadan. The equipment there was not working. The one in Kaduna was not working. The one in Lagos, Lut, was not working. The only place where we could treat these patients was a co-hospital. There you will see patients who are from Kaduna, from Enugu, all converging in that same hospital. Then you start to imagine the pain of somebody who has to take a patient from Kaduna to Lagos. If we have to first of all look for accommodation, apart from the cost of taking care of this patient in a private hospital. So the cost eventually is escalated. So the pains of the patients is a major issue that needs to be considered. We see that in each of these geopolitical zones, we have a standard hospital to take care of the patients. Secondly, is the issue mentioned by the mover of this motion, that we are suffering from brain drain. Most of our best doctors, they have left this country for greener pastures. And you cannot blame them. They will tell you, in Nigeria hospitals, there are no equipment. And again, there are other issues surrounding that. So because of that, they have their own reason to leave the shores of Nigeria. Another important reason is the issue of this medical tourism. As of today, our economy is suffering. And why is it suffering? Is because we don't have adequate foreign exchange inflow into the economy. And for every treatment in Nigeria that goes abroad, foreign exchange is involved. Money is leaving the shores of Nigeria for those other countries, creating employment for people over there. If our own hospitals in Nigeria are up to standard, I believe we can equally import specialists from those other countries to come and work in our hospitals. In which case, money will not be flowing out regularly. So if our own children go out and work in South Africa, we go out and work in India, we go out and work in any other locations, we can as well engage specialists where we don't even have to come and work in our hospitals, provided we have adequate facilities. So there's need for us to have one hospital at least in each of these 6 geopolitical zones, well equipped, that can make our own children to remain here to serve our people. Like I said, it will even reduce the pains of those who have to undergo special treatment in these hospitals. With this, I support this motion wholeheartedly and encourage the government to see to the prayers requested by the mover of the motion. I so support. Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable Adedwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues. I would like to support the motion as raised by Honorable Shegun Alexander Adekola. However, Mr. Speaker, the challenge with the health system in Nigeria goes beyond the issue of upgrading teaching hospitals. Recall, Mr. Speaker, that between 2005 and 2007, in fact, between 2003 and 2007, there was a national teaching hospitals rehabilitation project called the VAMED project that was handled out of the office of the SGF of the Federation, outside the purview of the Ministry of Health, where I was Minister of State in that time. And a number of teaching hospitals in Nigeria was supposedly upgraded at that time. Till today, Nigerians have not been given an adequate explanation of how the VAMED upgrade went, what is still required, what maintenance and repairs regime was put in place during the implementation of the VAMED project to maintain equipment. And so we just keep going around these circles. The entire health system in the country requires strengthening. My honorable colleagues, a situation where the primary health care system has broken down and cases of malaria are being taken to general hospitals, and cases that should be treated at general hospitals are being taken to teaching hospitals. So there's inordinate pressure even on the inadequate health system that already exists in this country. At the time when the idea was mooted that a general hospital, not a teaching hospital, mind you, a general hospital be located in every senatorial zone. We did a study, honorable colleagues, and we discovered that in some states, this could work. In states where there were small senatorial zones, densely populated and urbanized areas, it could work. But we looked at some of the larger states where a senatorial zone could cover thousands of kilometers. And we're talking about putting a teaching hospital, a general hospital in each senatorial zone. A general hospital would not serve in that senatorial zone. Not to talk of putting a teaching hospital in each geographical zone. Nigeria is a very vast country, honorable colleagues. And I believe that while I support this motion, we need to do an upgrade of our health systems. It is important that we insist that a comprehensive policy or plan of action for improvement of the entire health system should be developed. We spend too much time talking about the health systems in this place. We spend too much time addressing individual hospitals and individual health facilities. We need to, apart from teaching hospitals, there are general hospitals in states. There are also what we call federal medical centers. These federal medical centers They are not clinics. They are 300-bed hospitals created and put in areas where there are no teaching hospitals. So all of these facilities, even as they exist, require an upgrade. So I urge you, my colleagues, that we look at this motion and request a comprehensive upgrade and review of the health systems. And I would therefore like to urge that we amend this to include that, to bearing that in mind. Thank you for the privilege, honorable colleagues.
So please move the amendment so that we'll take a vote on it and we'll proceed. Okay, we have 2 amendments now. If you're not ready, Honorable Shagari can move this. Okay, so Mike, now you do. Can you speak to the mic, please?
I respectfully move that we amend this this prayer to read that we urge the Federal Ministry of Health to review the tertiary health systems to provide for an upgrade of teaching hospitals, federal medical centers, and general hospitals in each of our states to international standard. And yes, I think that should cover it, because the funding for that will come from prayer B. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Engineer Dao Magaji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Engineer Magaji, member representing Bojipere constituency. Speaker from Jigawa State. I rise to second the amendment of this motion is heavily moved by Honorable Adedoyin. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Aminu Shagari, amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Aminu Shagari, I represent Yabo Shagari constituency, Sokoto State. I would like to amend prayer 2, sir, which says mandate the Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity to ensure implementation. I think the committee is misplaced here. The proper committee should be Committee on Health. So I move that the prayer be changed to mandate the Committee on Health to ensure compliance. Health institution. I so move.
Any seconder? Pardon? Oh, it's deleted. In the course of moving it, he seeded it. So I'll take a vote on the motion as amended by Honorable Adedoyin. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Move to consideration of reports. The 10th order of the day is consideration of bill for an act to amend the Private Guards Companies Act, Chapter P30, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to vest licensing of private guard companies expressly in the hands of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and review penalties upwards. And for related matters, honorable members will recall the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, 28 September 2017. Honorable Uzoma Nkema Bonte will move for the consideration of the report. Where is Honorable Bonte? Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the report on item number 10 be stepped down as Honorable Abonta is not on the floor of the House.
Okay. Item 10 on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. 11th order of the day, Honorable Colleagues, consideration of bill for an act to amend Lagos Port Operations Special Provision Act Chapter L3 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 to review the fines upwards and for related matters. Honorable members will recall the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 6 April 2017. Honorable Gabriel Onyewufi will move for the consideration of the report. Is absent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise again to apply that item number 11 be stepped down as Honorable Gabriel Onyema Ife is not on the floor of the House.
11th order on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. 12th order of the day is consideration of bill for an act to amend the Architects, the Registration, etc. Act Chapter A19 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to enhance the penalties and to make appeals from the disciplinary committee lying to the High Court and for related matters. Honorable members recall the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Tuesday, 6 June 2017. Honorable Jonathan Befwe will move for its consideration. My PS is now on the floor too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise again to apply that item number 12 be stepped down as Honorable Jonathan is not on the floor of the House.
Item 12 on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. The last is the 13th order of the day is considering a report of the Nigeria-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs and the highlights for 2017 Hajj. Honorable members will recall the report was laid on Tuesday, 16th January 2018. Honorable Abdullah Balarabe Salami will move for the consideration of the report.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am Dr. Abdullah Balarabe Salami, member representing Wadaba Delabeka constituency from Sokoto. I rise to move that the House consider the report of the Nigerian Saudi Arabian Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs on the highlight of the 2017 Hajj and approve the consideration therein.
Second, Honorable, I can see the person there very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Muhammad Daus Boy, member representing Ringim Taura Federal Constituency. I'm from Jigawa State. I rise to second the motion read by Honorable Salami. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Rules and business move that will resolve into Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Dr. Bode Ayorinde. I represent Owo Federal Constituency. I rise to move that the House do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider the reports. I so move.
Second, who is second? Honorable Betty. Okay. Honorable Betty, I recognize Betty. Betty is second, please.
Honorable colleagues, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Abuja Odola East Federal Constituency. I'm from Rivers State. I rise to second the motion, heavily moved by the Rules and Business as a second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. House hereby resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Honorable colleagues, the report to be considered is that of the Nigerian-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs on the highlights of the 2017 Hajj operations.
I now invite the chairman of the friendship group to speak to the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I'm Dr. Abdullah Balarabi Salami, member representing Guadaba Ilela Federal Constituency. I rise to move that the House do consider the report on the highlights of the 2017 Hajj and approve the recommendations therein. There are 7 recommendations, Honorable Chairman. I move that honorable members will consider and approve the recommendations as it is in the order given. Thank you, Honorable.
This report has several recommendations. We now go ahead and consider the recommendation. Recommendation 1, recommendation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Honorable Shagari, 5 has been carried.
No, sir, just to correct you, sir, that the Commission made commendable efforts to curtail the activities of drug peddling. I want to add and other prohibited items during 2017 Hajj, because kola nut is not a drug, but it's it is a, yes, sir. So it will be good for NACO to, enlighten pilgrims on the prohibition of this item. So just thank you.
No, I didn't hear his question. May you come again, please?
Yes, sir. I would want to propose the amendment to this recommendation, that the Commission made commendable efforts to curtail the activities of drug peddling. I want to introduce thereafter, immediately after peddling, and other prohibited items during Hajj 2017. Yes.
It's the matter you raise has generated the question in my mind. Were we involved in screening of intended pilgrimage here in Nigeria or in Saudi Arabia? At what point did we start curbing the activities of drug peddling? At what point?
Honorable Chairman, this recommendation is as a result of that last 2017 Hajj operation. There was no single pilgrim from Nigeria that was apprehended there in the Saudi Arabia, neither here nor in the Saudi Arabia, against what used to happen previous years, even 2018, 2016.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted, prior to 2017, are there reported cases of drugs? Okay, you had. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, sir, he says that states should be encouraged to move the accommodation of their pilgrims very close to Haram in Makkah. I don't understand how possible that is, considering that it's not only Nigerian pilgrims that are in Saudi Arabia at this time, and considering, of course, that accommodation is quite an issue. Already, Mr. Speaker, sir, initially we had spoken to the fact that we needed to move it closer, but not for you to say that the states should be encouraged. It is not within the absolute purview of the states. We know that for proximity and logistics, we want them to be closer to Makkah. But for you to now carry this responsibility and put it on the states is really not something that can be achieved realistically. No, we can't do it. Let's not do this.
Sir, thank you, Mohammed Sani Abdul Kalir, Federal Constituency from Bauchi. This is number 4. Even yesterday, we had a meeting with the Hajj Commission. The accommodation in Makkah is within the purview of states. They arrange it. Yes, and in Makkah, arrange from the Haram it is in cycles, they have some rings. So depending on where you can afford, you reside there. But now there is even an improvement. You know, before there were small houses. Now they are building bigger condominiums there, whereby, in fact, yesterday our conclusion that 3 or 4 states should be encouraged to cooperate to take one condominium. About 1,500 people can be settled in one thing, and it will be closer to Haram because they will crash their prices. And that is the essence of this recommendation. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Shagari's amendment that it should involve other prohibited items.
Okay. We have no objection, Honorable Chairman. Whatever the House decides, we can go by it. Okay. So you want me to second it? I didn't hear him very well. Maybe can you come below that?
I mean, he said, yes, drug peddling has been curtailed, but cola nut, for example, is not a drug, but it's a prohibited item. So we should add an other prohibited item. So you are not seconding, you are not seconding a serious.
So I rise to second the amendment ably moved by Honorable Shagari. So I second this amendment.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. So recommendation 5 as amended. 6. Recommendation 7. Thank God, Salami can sleep today. Chairman, rules and business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to move that the House do revert to plenary and report progress.
Majok.
Chairman, I rise to second the motion that we revert back to plenary.
The House hereby reverts back to plenary to report progress. Honorable colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Nigeria-Saudi Arabia Parliamentary Friendship and Hajj Affairs and the highlights of the 2017 Hajj and approved recommendation 1, 2, 3, 4, amended recommendation 5 and approved, then approved recommendation 6 and 7 in the report. Chairman, rules and business.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I rise again to move that the House do adopt the report as approved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Pajok.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do second the motion ably moved by the Chairman, Rules and Business.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Shagari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I move that the House do adjourn till tomorrow, 8th of March by 11 a.m. I assume.
Chairman rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion for adjournment as ably moved by Honorable Aminu Shagari.
The House stands adjourned till Thursday, 8th of March 2018, 11 a.m.